Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Sama, South Circuit Music and Art. I'm Derek Mazzoni, your host. Thanks for being here. It's summertime in the Northern Hemisphere, but especially around here. So our spirits are lifted, I must say, and thoughts of travel, thoughts of concerts, thoughts of health and wellness. Obviously, this is not the case in all over the world as it ever was. But it's an uplifting time. I've been doing this since the pandemic started, and I'm excited to be adding a little more levity to some of the work here. I'm super excited right now to have this particular artist that is offered to play some music and tell us his story. His name is Justin Adams, and he's a guitarist, producer, composer. He's been in the genres of music that I love very much for a long time. And he's one of these cats that, you listen to a lot of music. I got turned on to Jah Wobble. I got turned on to Tinariwen. I got turned on to Sinead O'Connor as I was growing up. I started doing radio really early in Boston at a great freeform station called WMFO. Then came to Seattle, KCMU, KXP, continuing with that. And I loved music that combined sounds and cultures from all over the world, but especially from Western Africa or from Sahara, from Morocco. And there was always, somebody there that was acting as kind of like a guide into that as a musician. Justin is one of those people. And so it's a ridiculously great honor to have him on Sama. You knew him as part of Jah Wobble's Invaders of the Heart. He played with Sinead O'Connor, Damien Dempsey. He was at the Festival in the Desert. He's working now with Robert Plant. He produced Tinariwen's debut record. And just most recently, he was the producer of Canzoniera Grecana Costanzino's most recent record, Medida, that we just debuted last week. And so it is so cool to have Justin here. And I want to start with something that he did with Mauro from CGS at Womex, and then we'll have a chat with him on Sama, South Circuit Music and Art. That was awesome. Justin, hi.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm good. Welcome to Sama. I love that piece with you and Morrow, and it speaks to your ability to do two things. One, rock. Two, play well with others. Really, really well. And I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and it's an honor to have you here. But it's also I've been listening to you for a long time, and you've got a way where you actually we had spoke about this before. You got a way to you bring who you are into this. You're not like putting on a suit that you're now going to be a musician from someplace else. You are who you are. You're a blues man. You're a guitarist, and you rock, and you're actually finding a way to bring that into all of the music that seems that you're creating with these artists from all these different cultures. But I'm curious because you've worked with artists from Gambia, you've worked with artists from Morocco, you work with artists from the Sahara. What makes it work? Like, what is it that what you're and now working with artists from Puglia? What makes it work that allows that what your sound and their sound creates something that's even better than the two parts?
Well, thanks, and just to say, it's an honour to come and be on this. So thanks for
Thank you.
having me, and it's nice to hear that you've enjoyed some of the things that I've
All
done
of the things.
over the years. But I think, basically, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of music, and since I was a kid, I was one of those kids who just always noticed the music that was around, and always enthusiastic. If I heard somebody playing in the street, I had to go over and watch, and I've just continued it like that. And I used to drive my brothers and sisters crazy by constantly kind of humming to myself as a kid. So I've just always had music going round in my head. I've been I had quite an unusual life in that my father was a diplomat, and so we lived from when we were 6 months old. We lived in Chicago for 4 years in the early 60s, and then we moved to the Middle East, to Lebanon. My dad spoke Arabic fluently, and so we had, although we were a very sort of British family, we did have, input from early 60s America, and my parents loved Joan Baez and all that, and then off to the Middle East, and my dad had records by Fairuz and Kulthum, and so that music came into our house, and then the Beatles came along, and then I was just the right age for punk, and what was great about being a 16-year-old English boy in 1977 was that it was so difficult to figure out how Eric Clapton or Pink Floyd made those sounds on the guitar when you had a little sort of cheap guitar and you were trying to figure out, how the hell do you make it sound like that? No idea. But then when the punk bands came along and just went down, it was like, okay, so I could do this too,
Yeah.
So then, and that opened up so much to me, and so just sorry to go back.
No. This is a great story.
From your question, but I think what makes it work when I'm working with these people, it's the first thing is a connection with their music and loving music. So it's not going to work if I go and I can't just play with anybody. Far from it. I need to be able to love it, and then also to be able to understand it. And for me, I'm not an incredible virtuoso player, and I couldn't sit down with an Indian classical musician and quickly play with them, and I couldn't sit with an amazing jazz player and play with them. So I'm quite limited, but what I have studied quite a bit is rhythms from North Africa and from West Africa, and the connection between those and the rhythms that you find in R&B, blues, reggae, Caribbean music, and so I'm kind of pretty much obsessed with grooves particularly the grooves that I find are kind of probably, in my mind, the grooves I like were all designed by these incredible forgotten musicians like 4,000 years ago, and it's ways of polyrhythm and ways to make, you know, one rhythm work against another rhythm that just makes your body do something, and it makes it sort of quietens the mind, and it takes you to another place, and it's the music which is that's what I'm always really looking for. And so whether I found that in the you know, when I heard the kind of sound of the Beatles, you know, imitating Little Richard, you know, and that transcendence that I heard when I was really young there, or whether it's in, you know, the tarantella music from southern Italy with this, you know, that relentless pizzica beat, you know, or whether it's you know, it's those kind of things that get me, you know. That's what I respond to.
But this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, is that we're focusing on music that actually does that. It does allow you to kind of transcend where you are, and it takes a particular kind of person to be able to do that, because it's like there's a lot of people that basically, you know, started in blues, they're still in blues, and it's not a value judgment. It's just kind of they're there, or they started in punk, they're still in punk.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not saying you're like, you know, a bodhisattva or anything like that, but maybe you are. But you're able to take that, and there's something, it's almost like a seeking, like, you know, music that has that ability, has the capability to actually get people to rethink about themselves, their role in the world, others. You know, it's like, in the United States, it's been a tough 5 years, and I wanted specifically to bring in artists from the Middle East, from North Africa, from West Africa, because they have this ability in their musical presentation to get people to understand them in a way that nothing else can. Like, you know, you can read about these cultures, you can watch their movies, but there's something about the music which translates experience in a way that makes people kind of go like, we're all on the same path together. And you were open to that. What made you open to that? How did you go from da 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 to like, hey?
Well, I can see a big connection, really, and I mean the kind of the actual logic of that was, you know, the punk thing. It was bands like, well, specifically the Clash, you know, Elvis Costello as well, and others who and also there was a great magazine in music newspaper that followed that was a sort of right in the punk thing, called the New Musical Express in London. Also a DJ called John Peel, and all of those pointed us, sort of ignorant young white punks, they all pointed us towards reggae, and they all pointed us towards soul, and eventually to blues and to jazz, you know. And so I was turned on to, you know, I was turned on to Sun Ra, I was turned on to Dun Cherry, I was turned on to Fela Kuti, I was turned on to James Brown, Curtis Mayfield, Sly Stone, you know, all these incredible artists, you know, and you know, I started to have a curiosity of you know, what was it in the way that music, that things fitted together in that music. What was that music? Where was it taking me? I mean, you know, I think gospel music, you know, American gospel music has all those elements that I find also, you know, in music that in West Africa, where it's a question of, I mean, sometimes it's quite good to think about, okay, what's a different kind of music? And if you think about the way that Western classical music works, and don't get me wrong, I love some parts of Western classical music, but the way it works is you've got a composer who's like a kind of almost a genius, you know, this kind of amazing man on the top of everything. It tends to be, you know,
tends to be.
And then you've got the conductor, you know, I'm talking about the tradition, you know, Beethoven, or, and then you've got the conductor, and then the conductor has a series of experts who work for him, the flautist, you know, the first violinist, and they're all trained, you know, hugely highly trained and specialized, and the conductor gets them to fulfill the needs of the wishes of the composer. And so it's strict, it's very hierarchical, and basically the audience who needs to be educated in this system then gets taken on a kind of journey, which is very much, it's quite a intellectual journey to do with, you know, the symphony form and, you know, all these things. Now, when you see, you know, when I saw, you know, that incredible, what's the Amazing Grace film, Aretha Franklin in the cinema, or, you know, or, you know, I could count a million things, you know, when I've seen Greek musicians play by the harbour side for a festival, and there's 50 people from the village dancing in a circle to it. It's a different kind of a thing. So what you have there is a community playing music that's within their culture. You'll have a few virtuoso musicians who are incredible. They can play, you know, they're special people, and they riff on the themes. Everybody knows the themes, but the virtuosos will all play, you know, the incredible choral player will, you know, do things that you wouldn't believe are possible, you know, or the amazing Greek clarinetist, you know, will play some incredible stuff. But everybody's joining in. The whole community's joining in. The grannies are joining in. The kids are joining in. They can all do the response, the call and response, the clap, and the rhythm stays steady. The rhythm just rocks everybody, and it's just a simple rhythm that everybody can feel in their bones, and people within the culture know the rhythm intimately, you know, and they can dance to the rhythm. Dance is part of it, and together everybody goes on this kind of transcendent little voyage, you know, and that's what I love, you know, and I think that's what you're talking about.
It's exactly what I'm freaking talking about. That's perfect. Yeah. I want that for the planet. Like so literally,
the planet has it. You know, it's around. It's around a lot, and sometimes, you know, I mean, a lot of people of my generation, musicians, friends of mine, including myself, sometimes we're all getting a bit grumpy about the whole situation, you know, and digitization of music is one of them, and the fact that the record industry, which is what I kind of, you know, I was very lucky to grow up at a time where there was a record industry, and I got funded by record companies to make crazy records that never made any money for anybody, but it was great for me. And you know, that's all going now, and the whole music industry is completely shaken up and different. But one of the things I think of a potential, I think maybe there's a potential for this idea of music within community to be a kind of healing force. I think maybe that will arrive again, you know, maybe the idea of the star and the personality, which is so huge, you know, now. Well, maybe that's probably not going anywhere, but, you know, maybe that, maybe that goes down a little bit, and maybe just the idea of people together experiencing the power of music and sharing the power of music, you know. So that's what I hope anyway.
You know? I think you're absolutely right. Nothing like a global pandemic to get you to rethink a bit. And nothing like the music industry once again killing itself, which is fine. It seems to go through a phoenix phase. But you're right. It is like, you know, my daughters aren't that interested in stars. There's no like, you know, oh my God. It's like, it's okay. It's a musician. Yeah. And I think you're right. You're the first one. God, I knew I was going to get it. This is awesome. Thank you. I knew you were going to say it. It's like, it's that connection between the performer and the audience, not in a way, you're right, it's not the Western classical model. It's like, oh, Beethoven, and then like I worked in the classical field. It's like there is this almost nobility kind of pecking order. It's like, oh, it must bow. Whereas in like, if it's in, you know, a community, it's like you're playing the drums, you're playing the choir, you're playing the flute. I appreciate what you're doing. You know, we're gonna throw some money at you. That's great. But we're not gonna like, you know, deify you. You're fulfilling a role, and a powerful role, but it's a role.
Yes, I think that's right.
Can we hear some music, please, sir?
Sure. Yeah. So I've got my nice guitar here, and I'll play a song. Mauro and I, that thing you saw earlier on was from a record that Mauro, this incredible violin player from Canzoneri Greccanico Salentino, Him and I have done a duo record that's not out yet.
When is it coming out?
End of October, I think.
Okay.
And I spoke to him on the phone the other day, and I said, "Hey, this guy in Seattle wants me to do something. Shall I do one of our songs on my own?" And Maro said, "Yeah, do it."
Oh, that'd be awesome. What label is it going to be coming out on? Or
It's
are you doing
on Ponderosa, which is
Nice.
the same label as Canzonerian.
Perfect.
It also puts out Ludovico and all that. So I'll play a little intro and then I'll attempt the song on my own.
Perfect. Thank you. It's beautiful work.
Thank you.
Very evocative. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. Justin Adams. Ansama, I got a question because we're live. And it's interesting because you had brought this up a little while ago, working with like a tabla player per se. You have a thing that seems to be resonating with you with Western Sahara, West Africa. But somebody came in, I think Uncle asked if would you, they love your sound and are curious if you'd ever want to collaborate with somebody from the Indian subcontinent.
Well, I tell you, I mean, obviously the whole, tradition of music from India is just this kind of
Small, tiny.
It's just this overwhelmingly huge and old and, innovative and complex thing. And to be honest, I've always been a little bit scared of it because I've looked and I've thought, man, that's a lifetime. That is really a lifetime to learn that to get within the Indian classical tradition. So and it's funny, I mean, I've done little bits with singers, I mean, there's a Pakistani singer called Najma Akhtar who's studied, the rag, and and I've worked a little bit with her. So I've done little bits with tabla players here and there, but it would be amazing, I mean, it's all a question of, I've never had a kind of plan. It's more like who I meet when I meet and if I feel a connection with them. And so it's weird in a way, especially living in England, where we have such a strong, well-established, communities with Indian background. It's funny that I haven't ever done that, but I would. But as I say, if I'd just always be aware as well of like, well, if somebody wanted to play music that's within the classical tradition and I'd be a little bit out of my depth.
Mm-hmm. But if it was something that's more, I mean, as you said, it's a huge tradition, and there's this classical scenario, like beyond that, like you're going to wash my feet, I'm going to teach you how to play one note, and everybody's orgasmic with the idea, to just folk music, like, as you know,
well, that's true.
In Rajasthan, people are just like, hey, we're having a party.
I've that is something I would connect with. Or what I love is those the bowls, music. That's incredible. That I connect with very, very much. And you're right. The Rajasthani things I have done. I did a day working once with a really great Rajasthani music. So I might, one day.
I know people that want to connect you, so I'll make.
Sure.
I'll do the thing.
Okay,
It's been a crazy year. Obviously, you're a touring musician. What do you want to see happen? Do you have plans? Are you going to go back on the road with? I mean, you're not bored. Obviously, you're teaching and doing stuff.
I'm not bored, but it has been really, really. I found it really challenging because, in truth, I think there's a special kind of adrenaline that comes from playing to a live audience, and I've been doing it for 40 years, and so to not do it has really been tough. I feel it's given me a new sort of sympathy for like sports people who have to give up their sport because of injury or something. It must be really, really tough, dancers and this kind of thing, because to suddenly be told that I can't play concerts, and I haven't liked it. It's true, I'm not bored. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky in many, many, many ways, but I have really missed doing shows. And the situation I'm in now is that I have shows for July and August, but some of them are in different countries in Europe, and the regulations are changing on a daily basis about quarantine and stuff like that. So we've just had to get used to this thing of, well, I may have concerts next month and I may be cancelling them. I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't like that. Again, I'm somebody who likes to do what I said I was going to do. it goes in me very deep. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And so so I'm still finding it tricky, and I think I will find it tricky until it's easy to travel again, and we can be a little bit more certain when we say we're going to be somewhere that we will be somewhere.
Yeah, got it.
I mean, I think there will, there are special moments ahead, where people suddenly realize how much they've missed live music.
There are little communities and islands around the area, like Orcas, San Juan, Vashon, etc.
Yeah.
And people are going to shows. But they're isolated. It's the circles and everything. But as soon as the musician starts playing, the tears come. It's like, poof, what they've been missing.
Yeah.
For my radio show, I just put a concert calendar together, and it's like Tinariwen's coming. Rahman is going to be playing here. Like, there's like, people are like, whoa, the fact that we actually put that up was like, oh my God, because A1, we're trying to stay alive. So it's like, like missing a concert. It's like, dude, just shut up. You're alive. Yeah. But that thing that fills your heart and soul is needed. And I want to clip to this right now because you rock out and you're working on a project with the Gnawa musicians. So I wanted to just show everybody this clip of Justin Adams rocking out. All right. That's what we want. We want to get back there.
Yeah, man, so do I.
And we want to make that work. So tell us about this new project that you've got coming up.
Yeah, so that was, for this year, the project with Mauro was what I was planning to do. But then suddenly, traveling anywhere has got really complicated. And then just by chance, I heard that there was a Moroccan musician who just moved to Bristol, which is close to where I live. So as soon as we were allowed to meet up, I gave him a call and said, look, come on over, let's have a chat, And he comes from this Gnawa tradition, which I don't know if your listeners...
They do. We had Samir Langus, and I'm looking.
Okay.
I've actually... that was one of the gateway drugs for me, like, let's bring this here because this is a pipeline to something.
Sure, yeah. Well, me too, really, for Gnawa music. So this is a music that is a kind of Sufi trance healing music from Morocco, originally played by the descendants of slaves from West Africa brought into Morocco in the Moorish kingdoms, and they have their own particular style of music. And this guy, Mohamed Ereba, is a fantastic, adept of playing the gimbri, who's studied under some of the great malems with the sort of musical masters of Morocco. So, he really knows his thing. He was living in Essaouira for 10 years playing as a Gnawa player there. And so it's been actually a great experience for me so we're making a new project. We still haven't done a gig. We still haven't made any recordings. We've got some rough demos we've made just quickly. But we're still just developing a language between them. I know some of the Gnawa music, but it's very interesting playing with him. Amazing, actually, to play with him because it the deeper you get into seeing the way his fingers move, understanding the way the structures of the pieces work, understanding the rhythm, the little rhythmic shifts. The more I study it, the more you sort of think, wow, this is very, very deep and very, it reminds me a bit for any listeners that are not actual musicians but maybe thinking more of a visual way. Those incredible rooms of tiles that Moroccans make with the geometrical
Hmm.
shapes, and apparently the guys who make those tiles, they've got these incredible sort of like inner mathematics and inner geometry where which is passed down family to family, and they really understand those kind of those sort of fractal maths that enable you to lay out geometrical tiles. And it's kind of like that, when you start following what's going on with a rhythm and feel the push and pull of it. And even they have these metal castanets called crack, which I play in a very sort of so I'm probably on sort of 600, so I play. But even to feel him sort of pushing me playing it with his and I'm going like that, and just feel the way he's pushing the rhythm, and it's a great experience. We'll hopefully, if the concerts go well and we figure out a system, we'll make a record later this year.
That's beautiful. Running into one quick technical issue. Let me just do something really quickly.
Oh, sure.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, got it. It's magical that we're doing this right now.
It is
We're in the
magical. It
UK.
is.
I'm in Seattle. I'm not.
I know, it's crazy.
It is completely crazy, and the fact that we're able to do this with all these musicians, and we're talking about these almost semi, not I would say mystical, but just like really interesting, powerful ways to create music. And I had this conversation with my friend Skerrick, who the master musicians of Jujuka were in Seattle a couple of times. We had WOMAD here, and so they came through, and I remember we were having a dinner, and they played, and these jazz heads were in there, and they were like trying to figure out, like, so what is this rhythm? What is this rhythm? What is this rhythm? And we ended up talking to the musicians, and you're right. It's family. It's not something. It's like, oh, it's this particular rhythm or it's that rhythm. It's like this rhythm is the rhythm that we play, and it changes depending on what I'm feeling, what's going on, what this person's going, what we had for dinner. It's like there isn't like this structure where it's this rhythm. It's this connection.
Yeah, I mean, structure is loose. It as far as I can see, it's kind of a little bit different from jazz. It's in that basically there's lots of kind of cells that people know. If I do this, then you do that, and then I can talk to you within what we're doing. So we can be doing a piece of music, and within that piece of music, there's lots of phrases I can use, and I might even be able to invent phrases, but they're within the language of that particular piece of music, and then you will know exactly how to respond, without treading on me. You'll hear my, what I've said, and you'll be able to effortlessly just give a little answer because you know the language of that piece of music. So the pulse. I often talk about pulse. That it's based on a pulse, and that particular pulse is very. Set. It's very set, but it's very, very flexible, and you can even play everything that isn't it, but you're still playing it. You know what I mean? You could be, so long as you're feeling the pulse, you can play outside of it, but you still got to, if everyone's feeling the same pulse,
Including the audience and everything else.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's a great
totally
metaphor.
including the audience.
Yeah, it's like it has to be, and that goes back to my initial question. Is like, what have we been doing here? And every musician that I've talked to, and producer and artist and even fans, is just like, we're disconnected, because it's not complete until the audience is reaction. Not in that way where it's like, wow, I love you, you're amazing, and the artist is up there, I'm a god.
No.
But as in like, wait, we're creating, we're having a thing.
Yeah.
That is. And speaking of that, I told you I talk a lot. Can we hear another song, please, Justin?
Oh yes. Okay. So
Thank you.
well, talking of Ganel, I've just got to get this.
Mm-hmm. I'll take your time.
I get this. Here we go. And so when I first went to Morocco, a friend of mine called Dawson Miller, he said, "Listen, man, you've got to go to Morocco. If you like this kind of music, you've got to go to Morocco. And when you do, check out the Gnawa music." And so I started to make my researches, and I got this one cassette while I was there of an incredible musician called Mahmoud Ghania. And this is a song that was on the Mahmoud Ghania cassette. I actually never knew the lyrics until more recently when I asked Hamid El Khazri, and he told me. And it's actually this song, Zira.
Zirame, wah wah, 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 لا تنساني wah wah. Saharawiya, wah wah, Yalamiya, wah wah, Saharawiya, wah wah, Yalamiya, wah wah, Saharawiya, wah wah, Marahaniya, wah wah.
Justin Adams, that was beautiful. What were the lyrics?
Yeah, it's well, I actually don't know exactly what they all mean, but I believe it's unusual from the other a lot of the Gnawa songs are kind of invoking saints. But I believe, and I might have got this wrong, but I think it's a slightly kind of humorous story about the rich man and the poor man, kind of slightly ironic story of, the rich man gets it what he wants and the poor man gets nothing. So one of those kind of
one of those stories.
One of those stories, yeah.
Justin, thank you so much. I know you got to rush, and I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you, catching you in a concert. Either we'll meet in Europe or here.
Yeah.
I mean, Sama was always intended to be, and will be, a concert series here, so we can get artists such as yourself and others to Seattle, which is far away from many other places, and celebrate and actually put into practice the things that we've been discussing here. I'm so looking forward to hearing more of your work. You've always been inspiring, and I've always been super curious to hear what you've got coming up, and your history is really interesting. Like, for me, one of the gateway drugs was Jah Wobble. It was like, where is this coming from? And to be part of that story, and now continuing with Festival in the Desert or Plant and others, I mean, we could go on, and I promise you that I would not. I'm going to leave with another piece from you and Mauro at Womex, and theoretically, maybe Womex will happen, which is, everybody listening around, it's an amazing musical festival gathering of artists and presenters and DJs focusing on music from all over the world, as the world is changing, and it's really going to be. I don't want to put this on you, but I'm super curious to see where this world is going to go in light of where it's been. If we're dealing with the past administration here, you got Brexit, you got BLM, but you've got a really amazing, powerful points for good, and also some pitfalls that could be coming that we are apprehensive about, obviously. And I'm really excited to see how artists such as yourself will transmutate that into work, and hopefully make that connection.
Well, thanks for your support, because this is what we need. It's great.
I'm here. We can do what we can. And everybody listening right now, next week we've got Third World United. This is going to be super exciting because we're actually doing our first live show on Orcas Island in Seattle with this really powerful a cappella 2.0 hip-hop group made up of Somali and Moroccan immigrants and others that are creating some really, really great work. So looking forward to sharing that with you, and then a lot more coming up. So I'm going to leave you right now with Justin Adams and Mauro. Thank you, Dogmata, thank you, Seattle Group, thank you, Christine, and everybody else that helps make this happen. Peace, be well, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, man.
This next song is a tune from
Italy, Italian famous folk song, originally from Abruzzo region, and then it was made famous by Domenico Modugno, also known as Mr. Volare. Amara terra mia.
alla valle, sole alla collina, per le campagne non c'è più nessuno. Addio, addio amore, io vado via, amara terra mia, amara bella. tu li vedi è nata già la luna. Un bimbo piange al latte un seno magro.